See, if your online identity is just a cat, no one hears you scream.
And that's how we're starting off the side quest. Actually, you know what? This is how we're going to start off the side quest if y'all are ready. Let's do this. Can you guys see the screen here? Let me go full scale on this guy.
This looks like Yoshi P is trying to whisper something to everybody else about like what his drastic opinion of you.
Yeah, let me make sure I got the share audio window. Hopefully I can share the audio here. Okay. You guys ready? You ready?
Man, I wish I could do that.
Yeah,
that would have been sick.
You can't hear it, but what did they
That would have
say?
been sick.
Oh, dang. I can't. Let me try to present the video.
They say SideQuesting.
Oh, it's going.
1, 2, 3.
SideQuesting.
Yay!
Oh,
That's it, man. There we go. Let me
beautiful.
hide that. Okay, I can put that away. Yeah, we had Yoshi P.
And it almost looked like they weren't pained to say it. That's crazy.
They were not in pain. That was from the Final Fantasy 16 fan celebration over in Los Angeles. Got to hang out there with several friends. Bumped into a bunch of folks that are friends of ours that have been on a podcast as well. And yeah, just a good time overall, which we will get into momentarily. Did want to say hello. I am Dali Domofsky. Joining me, the person above me, Taylor, the numbers bliss.
That's right.
Because every time he's on a podcast now, the numbers go up.
That's true.
Yeah, 2 in a row. I don't know what's
we're gonna break another record tonight. Watch.
Yes, joining me right there, Zach Quest.
Welcome back. He's back. The boy.
Welcome back. It's Zach. Welcome back. It's Zach. Zach, say something.
Hey.
And above Zach, that cat, Sam Dixon.
Gaslighting the industry since 2009. All right.
Oh, goodness. Yes, it wouldn't have it any other way. We have a jam-packed show, and we're going to get rocking here. I just want to say thank you guys for joining us. You loyal viewers, but also this awesome team that I'm looking at here. These people. I love you guys. How you guys doing? How's your Thursday Eve doing? Yeah, nobody go first. That's good. That is good to hear.
It's going.
Yeah, I like it's privated account. That's good.
Yeah, it's privated. I got job interviews and stuff going on. So
yeah, that's the way to do it. You don't want to end up canceled before your interview.
So yeah,
it's all good. It's all good.
That's what's happening.
Well, good to have the two of you back. I know Taylor and I have been holding down the fort, and we're thankfully able to kick JJ off the show today to get the both of you on. So, it takes a lot to replace JJ. It takes 2 people to replace JJ, and that's not talking about his weight. That's just his personality.
Personality, yeah.
Well, we got a lot to talk about. I want to. We're gonna get into some news. There's a lot of news, but I do want to jump in first with the Summer Game Fest experience that I went to, and just some kind of general things. And feel free to ask questions about my experience out there. We did the recap last week. Taylor and JJ and I did that, kind of went over the show. But since then, being in LA, going through the experience. Now, I didn't go to the Game Fest play days proper, but I spoke to essentially everybody else who was there, and it was kind of small. So it's not a replacement for E3, but it sure had an E3-ish feel, like a chill E3 feel. So the way it was set up was, again, this is kudos to Jeff Keighley. And I'm going to be giving Jeff Keighley kudos a lot this episode.
No.
Yeah.
He can't hear it. No.
No, I'm going to get him on this podcast. No. So the way he had it set up was, he partnered with IM 8-Bit. So it was in sort of, last year it was just in one like building area This year it was kind of in the same one big building, but then like a few other adjacent little areas, and it's kind of set up as pods. So it's not like booths. There really isn't like booths like in PAX or anything like that. It's basically like a screen and controllers and a couch. Screen, controllers, and a couch. And you would have like Phantom Liberty on this screen, Cyberpunk, and then Sonic right there, and then an indie game from Double Fine and an indie game from here. So they had really kind of worked to mix a lot of the games together. Gaming is gaming, right? Gaming is included. It doesn't matter how much you charge for your game, little or lot, how big your team is. They wanted to make sure that everybody had kind of the same level of exposure. So that was cool. Now, granted, you had places like Bandai Namco that had sort of like an adjacent building area that had their own kind of mini booth going, that they were still technically a part of Summer Game Fest, but they weren't on kind of the main area. But they were essentially the biggest third party or publisher there. But they were running out of space. You could definitely tell. And it's only 2 days, and there were maybe like, I'm going to guess like 150 to 200 people total, maybe a little bit more, somewhere around there, 250. It was not a ton of people that were at Game Fest. From what this is what people were telling me. And so the hands-on you see from the outlets on there are from all the outlets that you already know about, right? The bigger outlets that are out there. SideQuesting will be there next year, I promise it. But set up very cool, very chill. You go in there during your time slot and you play your game. You talk to the developers, and it's like a PAX experience from what I was being told, that you just speak to the developer. You're not talking to like PR or a booth person. It's like, here's the dev, or here's the, someone who's intimate with the game design. So I heard that was a really cool experience for everybody. Felt like PAX. So that was the right way to do it. Then that was Friday and Saturday. Sunday was the Xbox live stream and the Starfield thing. And then later in the day was what else was there's something else later in the day too. The Final Fantasy celebration. So the Xbox thing, you could watch the stream. There were like some mini like fan fest experiences around the world, but somehow I had gotten tickets to be a part of the fan fest, like the actual fan fest viewing party that was set up in a small theater. It was in the Novo Theater, which is Sam, you'll probably remember this when we were there. It's essentially the Lucky Strike bowling alley, like in the same building as the Lucky Strike bowling alley. So my daughter's dance recitals had more people than this Xbox Fan Fest. It's like the size of a high school auditorium, maybe smaller, to be honest. And it was multiple levels. The upper level was where everybody was kind of seated to watch this event. And it was on the screen, but you had folks like Phil Spencer came out beforehand, Aaron Greenberg, Todd Howard, developers and people from Xbox actually were there in person on stage and kind of talking us through before the live stream and afterwards. They had little game shows and stuff afterwards. But we watched the live streams there. And then they gave you like tons of food, and I'll show you a little swag bag that I got, which is kind of cool. They gave you tons of food. They had like a little area, like a little media lounge area for you to kind of play hands-on with some of the games that were there. Really, the only games they had a space upstairs in one of the floors where you could play games. There were a couple there. It's where I played Phantom Liberty. I'll get into that in a little bit too. But and they were just giving away all kinds of shit. Like, let me look at the swag bag. So they gave us this little bag, Xbox fan. Again, I don't know how I got there. I was there as a fan. I wasn't there as media, so I can totally talk about this shit. And I can sell this shit on eBay if I want to. See, look at that. It says fan. It doesn't say media or press. Here's a cool little Starfield tote with, I think there's like a notebook in here. And they give you patches if you went around. Check this out. Cool little notebook, Xbox notebook. They give you patches if you went around to all these like little activations. There was one that was like, put a tire, take a tire off a car, put it back on, almost like for Forza. They had this Starfield picture thing. They had take a picture with a bunch of bananas for a Sea of Thieves, and then There's like a claw game. And there's like a few things there. You could sign a big Xbox, that kind of stuff. So it's kind of cool. Good for fans. Free food, free drinks. Could not complain about that. They gave us this. I'm going to hide this. Everybody got a Starfield bomber jacket. Like legit. Like they just handed this to us as we walk in to like sign up. And you get this Flight Corps crew bomber jacket. Like that's pretty badass.
Where's it at?
Here, well, it hasn't shipped yet, but here's like all the patches. You can get those patches pressed onto that little tote that I showed you earlier. But then they gave us like as you kept walking, they kept giving you more shit in this Xbox thing. We got a Xbox. What is this thing? It is a jersey type of wearable thing, which is kind of cool. Check that out. I haven't tried it on yet, but that sucker could go for sale somewhere as well. Help pay for my trip. There's just one shit. They gave us this mug and a T-shirt. So there's like this. Really
Are you suggesting that you're going to profit off of your involvement in the game industry?
It wouldn't be profit because I spent a shit ton of money to get out there, so it's not technically profit. I'm recuperating costs. But no, here's just a cool. I'm looking at this for the first time. Cool FanFest glass cup. That's pretty neat. And then another T-shirt and socks and all kinds of stuff. So yeah. Oh, and really, wait, the best thing right here, a FanFest hanging smell preventer.
Crazy.
There you go. Anyways, cool for Xbox. You can win a bunch of prizes there. They're giving away all kinds of shit, giving away controllers and giving away. It's pretty funny because they had so much stuff to give away that if you went towards the end of the event, which I think ended at like 3 p.m. Pacific time, there was a good chance you could walk away with something in the Cyberpunk area upstairs. I walked up to see if I could play the game, and they were kind of shutting down the game. I'm like, all right, no problem. As I'm walking out, I see somebody holding like an art book. I'm like, oh, cool. Can I, where can I buy that art book? I thought they had like a Cyberpunk shop. They're like, no, you can't buy the art book. They're not for sale. They were giveaways. I'm like, oh, okay, no problem. Yeah, hanging smell preventer. Yeah, I like that name better than air freshener. And so I get in the elevator to head back down, and I see somebody with a big old giant Cyberpunk like collector's box thing. They gave those like $300, $400 collector's things away. I'm like, oh, cool. I'm like, did you win that? They're like, yeah, they were giving them away at the end. I'm like, what do you mean? Like, no, they had like one more left, and just sitting off to the side. And I got like the second to the last one. There's one more just kind of sitting there. They wanted to give it to someone. I'm like, fuck. So I pushed the elevator doors aside. I run back over and I go talk to the lady. I'm like, I was here asking about the art book. Do you guys have any more of those like collector's things? Because they don't take them back with them. She's like, actually, we do. We have one left. I'll bring it over to you. I'm like, oh, fuck. I'm going to walk away with this. Literally, the box was like the size of a small TV. I'm like, oh, fuck. And she like points to it, starts walking over to it. And I see there's a guy holding the box to like as like protection or whatever. And as she's walking towards it, I see somebody else who was in the elevator right behind me, like basically intercept her path and get in front of her and ask the guy for it. And he just hands it over to them and they walk out. And she like stops and turns around. She goes, sorry. I was like, no, the fucker heard me in the elevator and beat me to it. So, well, that's all right. I got away with a lot of free stuff, so that's okay. But it was a neat event. It was kind of cool for fans. You get to mingle with everybody from Xbox that was there. There's a lot of cool, fun things to do and free food. Then we went to the Final Fantasy event right after that. So me and Punctified Peter, who's my roommate over there, really cool person, at Punk DEFIED. Definitely followed him. Good person. He was my roomie for the weekend. We went over to the Final Fantasy event because we had tickets to there. Got where I met Yoshi P. Got this really nice signed and now crinkled poster, but they signed them.
I noticed that you haven't sent it to Zach yet.
Yeah, it ain't going. No, I'm just kidding. I might send that over to Zach. We'll see.
I would frame it and take good care of it, and it wouldn't be wrinkled.
Then maybe I might end up doing that for you, Zach. I might have to get your address after the show. And I'll give you another one of these. I think you have 18 of these already. The Final Fantasy 16.
I have 2.
You have 2 from Pat. But do you have a third? Do you have a Torgal Pixel pin? Oh, look at that!
Oh yeah.
Wow.
Not yet.
This is the make Zach jealous segment of the stream?
This is all this is going to Zach. All that's going to Zach. So otherwise I would sell that. I'll just give it to him. All this stuff was like free handed to me. So
wow.
Yeah,
say it again.
It'll pay
with gusto.
I'm gonna sell it to Zach. No, and so we went to this.
No, he's gonna give it to me, and then I'm gonna sell it.
What a lovely learning experience for those in the communications departments of their schools right now.
No, this stuff was again.
Payola. Do your own research, but maybe consider that while re-listening to this segment.
Yes, over and over again. No, it took place. The Final Fantasy event took place in a movie studio lot area. So you walk in there. There's like some food trucks, which you had to pay for. Dang you, Square Enix. Not so much of a celebration in this case as a way to
pay for your own food, cowards. Pay for our own food.
You cowards. So we get in there, and you can go in like one of the little buildings there that's actually housing everything. All the gameplay stations on one side. They had a stage in the middle. Behind us was a bunch of like props and stuff. They had Ifrit was sitting there, and then off to the other side was this streamer station. Shout out to our friends at Super Deformed Gamecast, because they were actually contacted as VIPs to stream. So John and Derek and Finn, who was on our show at PAX, very good he was on our panel there. Anyway, so you basically had a half hour to stream to your channel from the demo, like a special demo I don't think that demo was even available to the public. It's not the same demo that's available to the public right now. I don't think so. And you talk to devs and stuff on your stream. So it's pretty cool. They had like a whole area set up. I think more companies should do that. And then, yeah, you got to watch the panels. It was cool. Signings and all that kind of stuff. You could talk to everybody from the teams. That was neat. Monday was Ubisoft. There you go. And which took place in sort of, you've been to those, you guys have been to like the immersive Van Gogh or heard of the immersive Van Gogh type of stuff? The Vincent Van Gogh exhibit? No? Okay. All right. Well, anyways, the reason I bring it up is that the Ubisoft event took place in this venue that normally houses like an immersive art exhibit. Small venue, claustrophobic. They had games to play there. They had,
surprised that Ubisoft would pick a small venue.
You're right. It was a mini booth for them. Now, oddly enough, I feel like that's what would have been at E3 for Ubisoft. Like that would have been their booth. But the only Hawaiian shirts I saw were from Mike Telcoto. Mike Minotti, Mr. Telcoto over there. He had a Hawaiian shirt on one of the days. And there were a couple other Hawaiian shirts I saw, but not too many. No. But yeah, it was so that was sort of the setup. And then you had stuff happening in hotels. I had hands-on with a couple projects that I'm not allowed to talk about, which was kind of cool. I was privy to information on games that weren't announced yet, and that were games that were supposed to be announced with companies, but those companies ended up either not having an event or a live stream or are holding it off because
that makes them free game, actually.
Yeah.
Believe it or not.
It does actually. And that's one of the reasons that you saw Persona Tactica announced 2 days after Xbox, because it was going to be on another live stream. Anyway, so all kinds of stuff. You heard a ton about projects that had gone awry. So one thing that's kind of interesting is just in general, because there were fewer people here, it was very focused with, I don't want to say bigwigs, but it was very focused with who you would bump into. Like every time we hung out at the JW, which was the bar, the hotel lobby bar, you'd bump into everybody from Xbox, everybody from Ubisoft, everybody. And I mean everybody, like Aaron Greenberg, Phil Spencer, Mr. Ubisoft, Mr. Square. They were all there hanging out. The voice actors from Final Fantasy 16. Everybody would show up because there was so few folks in town. Really made it intimate, really made it chill. And I thought that was actually kind of cool because it was like that the gig event that we went to at PAX, where you showed up there and it's just industry folks and it's just hanging out. It's not a ton of people. And the whole weekend kind of felt like that. Like every time you went out and to hang out with anybody, it was just a lot of those heavy hitters. Like you could just be completely open with asking them questions on on projects and stuff. So very cool, chill experience. Jeff's gonna have to make it bigger next year because there was a lot of people wanted to go. A lot more. I think E3 killed themselves. I agree with Keeley because he didn't kill E3. E3 definitely killed itself because he did stuff right now that unless he gets big sponsorships, he didn't really have big sponsorships for the play days. But it costs a ton of money to actually find spaces. That's the issue. It's going to cost a ton of money to expand size and day wise for Jeff. So
yeah, the issue is that the only thing that he probably nailed sponsors for
DoorDash, the actual stream.
Yeah, it was for the actual stream itself, which makes sense when you consider like that's what he can market. That's what he has. That's what he already gets with Game Awards. So you say, when you're going to advertisers and you say, "This is what I'm making. This is what I'm doing," you can't really claim that you're gonna. Like, how do you sponsor things that you can't say that you have proof of? As far as like, so there's no show floor,
exactly. And food was food trucks, and they gave out tickets to use the food trucks, which was cool. Sorry, Square Enix. Jeff Keighley actually did this, but it was no. I think it was done really well for what it was, which was a very, very mini E3. It's kind of like the indie area of PAX East, but with a little bit more room, I guess, which is always kind of a nice thing. You can actually walk around, talk to people, very chill, no rush. And I think that's something that is going to grow next year. And he didn't have a lot of like major publishers, like no first parties were there. I think the biggest was like Bandai Namco, and they were kind of off the side, and EA had some stuff there, but it was small. And that was really it.
Yeah, I want to say I think Jeff kind of proved that, like, because like he's been saying like I want to work with E3, I want to work like we need to work together, and I think this kind of proved that he's all about that. Like this is what I want to do, a smart type of show. Like this type of show could have existed with a bigger E3, and it wouldn't have taken away from much.
That's what I'm saying. Like if anything, it's incredibly frustrating because the Reed Pop version of what E3 could have been is, in my opinion, an excellent companion to the show that and stuff that Keeley put on.
Yes, agreed.
Like it makes perfect sense because what E3, especially a Reed Pop version of E3, is and could have been, like they work together. There is no antagonism between what those two things exist as.
So E3, the biggest winner out of this was anybody who showed anything, even a bad game, because
the biggest winner was probably Microsoft because they put on a good show.
They put on a good show, but I was gonna say the biggest loser is the ESA because they fucked this whole thing up. So here we were kind of joking around, I think before we left, Taylor, you and JJ and I were like, man, PAX LA could work. Like, let Reed Pop just do a PAX. The thing that Jeff did great was the indies actually had time and space, and partnering with IM8-Bit, Day of the Devs, the Guerrilla Collective, all those, you need to include those. The ESA has not been friendly to indies. In fact, the indies at E3 were always kind of tucked away in a tiny little room, and that was it. It was really about this
or in the parking lot.
Or in the parking lot. Well, that's the one thing we said, that Devolver Digital, I was talking to Dave Oshry a little bit on Monday. We were hanging out for a bit, and he's like, yeah, I think maybe New Blood and Devolver should do the parking lot again and roll that into Summer Game Fest. I'm like, you guys should totally do that because people were starving for shit to do during the daytime, and people would have loved to go hang out that. But Obviously, the mix got canceled, which was issues, but and I found out more info about that. It was all permits. It was just crazy.
Yeah,
shit.
that hit the permit stuff for mix hit Twitter.
Yeah,
but and I think I agree with some of the takes that I read on it, which is that is an example of the thing that is lost when you lose the larger, bigger orchestrating body.
Yes.
Where
Jeff can't handle everything. Jeff can't handle everything.
Right. And little idiosyncrasies with an individual venue hosting one facet of one portion of the show is just, it requires an extremely large team of people to spend a lot of hours making sure that every single
I could see. All right. So here's the crazy thing that I could see. If the ESA doesn't get their shit together, I could see Reed Pop partnering with Summer Game Fest.
Yeah,
I
can
see that. Them because they're phenomenal at organizing shit. PAX East was fantastic this year. PAX West was great last year. JJ is going to PAX West again this year. The only issue is how freaking expensive it is from a venue standpoint in Los Angeles. The convention center, by the way, it was just so odd seeing that sucker empty. Sam, you remember when we went there were just signs everywhere. There's billboards, there's sign, all around town or in the hotels. There's signs on the convention center showing Call of Duty or Sims or whatever. None of that was there, and it felt so empty. And I actually felt bad for all the businesses around there because burger joints, restaurants, they were completely empty. Nobody was going there. I'm like, man, this would have been filled to the brim on a normal year for E3. And it's millions. That's millions of dollars it's lost just in the local economy, not just the gaming. But anyways, PAX Vegas or like a Vegas event would be super affordable. And it may be better for these devs because a lot of them aren't just in LA. They're coming from San Fran. They're coming from Seattle. They're coming from Japan. Las Vegas could work because it's very affordable. There's convention space everywhere. You could host a Summer Game Fest in Vegas, and it would be a hell of a lot cheaper than what it would be in LA. I know LA would happen because Keeley felt let's do something in LA, right? But because that's where the heart of gaming was for E3. But guess what? You don't have to. It was in Santa Monica one year. I think E3 was in Atlanta one year. So yeah, mix it up. Bring it to the Midwest, man. It's totally cool.
I was going to say, is it almost an image thing at this point where it's like
so.
LA is like where Hollywood is? It's all this, video games.
There are studios,
the bigger images and the bigger
but
stories.
Like, the studio concentration isn't what it was anymore.
Exactly.
It was.
You could host it anywhere. Look at PAX.
Right.
I mean,
it was
right?
It was a location of convenience.
Completely true. So
and that's just not there anymore.
It's just not. It's different now. It's been these 5 years have really changed the industry, and I think for the better. 4 years, whatever. So yeah. Anyways, I really feel like Jeff didn't kill E3. E3 was already dead because it's a dinosaur. Can it come back? I don't know. It would really need to go to. I think what everybody said coming out of this, everybody I spoke to was they loved how focused it was again. It was just about putting games in front of media. They didn't have too many like partners, but like business partners, there's a few in there, but it was mostly about get the games in front of the media and the folks that are going to report about it and talk about it. Not a ton of influencers yet, thankfully. It was about the folks that know, because Jeff's not a big influencer kind of guy, but it was about the folks who know how to report about it, who know how to talk about games, who know how to critique them efficiently. And that kind of stuff actually helps the studios because influencers and bloggers like us and whoever else is going to come in, business folks, they're just going to hype up products. Oh my God, check it out. I saw this game. It was amazing. It's like that doesn't do much for the actual studio in the end. If the game's not coming out till later this year or 2024 and all you're hearing is just people that can't vocalize things, it's not going to help you get through those last few bugs. So
and not just that, but like the influencer and alternative media stuff is going to happen through the co-streaming and from React stuff already. It doesn't need, they don't They don't necessarily need to have, the old primordial access to everything in order to make that aspect of it work.
That all that stuff's going to come naturally, anyways. You can let the PR folks handle that afterwards. But yeah, overall, I think the chill aspect of it was great. Bumping into people was great. Really, again, it shows the in-person stuff is really the way to go, because this is where I'm going to get to the anti you don't need E3, streaming is fine rhetoric. The games that looked, according to, I'm going to use Zach terminology, games that looked like poopy butt. Prince of Persia on the streams, Prince of Persia, Mortal Kombat with the animation stuff. I remember Zach, you mentioning some of the, why does it look like that type of thing? The Sonic the Hedgehog. I'm bringing even Assassin's Creed, the things that didn't look great on the streams, it didn't present well on these live streams. The minute people got hands on them, the foam stars, the biggest stuff at the show, people coming out said, holy shit, Prince of Persia is a phenomenal game. They did the right thing by canceling or whatever they're doing the Sands of Time. The art, they're like, people were raving about the art style of this. Foam Stars, which we said was just a Splatoon ripoff. It was like, what is Square Enix doing with this game during the PlayStation event? That came out very well from this, because everybody was talking about that too. Mortal Kombat. I think the general consensus was Mortal Kombat 1 may end up being the single best fighting game of all time, because people just absolutely loved it more than Street Fighter 6. They were raving about Mortal Kombat. Like, these are professionals. I said it functioned so well. Animation was exactly the reason it needs. Anyway, so these games came out.
Totally.
Yeah, they came out afterwards. After getting hands-on, it's like, oh shit, there's a reason why hands-on is important, and don't just look at those live streams, because you a minute and a half or a 30-second trailer isn't much to form an opinion until you actually get your hands on something, and then you actually see it reacting to you, and you end up potentially changing your opinion. And that's what happened with those games. I mean, I played Phantom Liberty. That game is going to be that may be one of my favorites of the show of the weekend, was getting my hands on Phantom Liberty, because it was freaking awesome. So it was what Cyberpunk needed to be the whole time. So yeah, I think it just goes to show that the hands-on are important. Jeff doing the in-person stuff is great. Xbox, Ubisoft, their presentation was really bad, but the hands-on, I think people came in with the hands-on stuff from that, and from, I guess, the crew as well. Came out, people really liking those, the stuff that they saw there. Even that Division mobile game, I guess, that fared really well more in person than it did on the live stream. So yeah, in-person stuff, great. The things that I loved personally, again, I mentioned Phantom Liberty, Prince of Persia. That's the other stuff. I didn't get my hands on a lot of controllers this year because, again, the nature, we weren't necessarily invited to Summer Game Fest, because I contacted them late, had no idea who to contact till the very end. Final Fantasy 16, which we'll get into the demo here in a little bit. That game is not at all what I expected it to be. It's very anti-Final Fantasy. But I don't know if that demo that I played was in what you guys played. The demo of Ifrit versus Garuda? Was that in the?
That's
so. Is it the bonus battle thing?
That's the bonus battle you get after beating the prologue, because the demo's the actual prologue of the game.
Okay, cool. So yeah, I mean that game fared really well. I loved playing that. I enjoyed it, and then, yeah, I think overall just a really cool weekend, and the way to do this kind of stuff. I will end on this, and then we'll get into the actual stuff that we've been playing, and some news. My weekend ended. I'm like, you know what? Fuck it. And this is a story. I'm like, I want to go to a movies. I'm in LA. I have one night left. I'm like, I'll go see Transformers. So I looked up the Regal Cinema, which was around the corner. We were staying at the Fabled Fig. Go to the Regal Cinema around the corner. And I get, I'm like, you know what? I'm going to do the 4DX version of Rise of the Beasts or whatever it's called. Return of the Beast, Rise of the Beast. I don't know. $34 a ticket for this stupid thing, but whatever. So I get my, I'm like, I need a drink, and I hadn't had dinner, so I'm like, I'm gonna get a frozen Coke.
Dali, I have to cut back Domofsky.
Yes. This was me splurging this weekend. Was this thing? I get my frozen Coke or frozen drink. I get my nachos. I'm like, I'm gonna have some nachos. This will be great. Which was basically a bag of Tostitos, the round Tostitos, and like a little cup of hot cheese. Great. And you pour the Tostitos bag into this little plastic bowl, and that's it. So I walk in, I sit down, and I'm like, oh, there's no. So the way the the rows, it's like the individual rows moves, not the seats. It's like rows of 4 or 5 seats move. So there's like 4 of us here on this section, and then next to me on this side, and the next section is a family. So it's a mother, a father, and then in between them is like a 4-year-old or 5-year-old kid. Granted, this was like at 8 o'clock at night, so it's already late for the kid to hang out, but whatever. I sit down. I put my frozen Pepsi in the cup holder here. I go to dip my first like chip because I always start during the previews, and I'm like leaning forward a little bit, I'm dipping the chip, and the seat just lurches up during this whatever preview. The preview head motion. Half my drink goes flying. Half my chips go all on the floor. I have like hot cheese on my leg. And I'm looking around, and everybody else is experiencing the same thing. Shit's flying into the air. I'm mad, but I'm also kind of entertained because the kid 2 seats over is getting launched at least a foot out of his chair because this thing was lurching so freaking much. The kid's screaming his head off. And I'm like, I'm actually mad at the parents, but I'm also kind of entertained, like I said. Ended it with ended my trip with hot cheese on my leg and getting half my drink spilled everywhere. And the movie was okay, it was watchable. But yeah, there you go. 4DX Rise of the Beasts. I give it 3 out of 5 stars. That's the official SideQuesting rating. So there's Summer Game Fest. Let's get into a quick little bit of news because is Taylor frozen, or is he just? Oh, I keep thinking you're frozen. You're just like,
nope.
There's a couple little bits of news that I wanted to cover. Let me see if I can load this sucker up here, which I think was pretty big news, and it was the. Here's the first one, and that's Embracer Group. Remember them? They bought everything. Well, guess what? They announced restructuring. Hey, you can't survive and miss out on a $2 billion deal or whatever, and then expect to survive, I guess. So they announced.
Speak for yourself.
Speak for yourself. Why? I don't want this. So they announced a big giant restructuring. They're going to be closing and divesting themselves of studios and laying off people. And man, it's kind of a mess, I think, right now. Right? I don't know. It's they had 98 individual studios underneath them at one point, I think is what it was sort of. Is
that really the total count?
Well, it was. So who knows what it is now, what it's going to be. But yeah,
like
8.
How many games?
Is it 8 now?
It might be down to 8. Yeah. But yeah, it's just a weird. I mean, it's sad because we know a lot of people at Embracer on all levels, from the PR side to the dev side to all the different groups, from like Deep Silver, and who was Deep Silver, the one that released Dead Island, and 505 Games, I think, are part of it. I don't know. There's so many freaking games companies and studios, and it's hot cheese on my leg. It's just a sad situation, but sadly not one that we didn't see happening, because you throw all that money on Lord of the Rings, which didn't they announce they're remaking the Lord of the Rings films?
Reboot, baby.
That's the word.
That's the word. But yeah, what are your thoughts on this, friends?
Don't care.
Don't care. It's just, I think it's just a crappy sitch. Another weird crappy sitch is that U.S.
There
judge.
are a lot of studios there.
Yeah, there are, dude.
But that's because like there's a bunch of subs that are then parent groups to a bunch of other ones.
Exactly.
Like Gearbox has how many? PlayOn has how many? Saber Interactive is actually a sub of Saber Group.
Yeah, which
and
is
Saber Interactive and Saber Interactive has 6 under it. Yeah, so
it is like a giant family tree.
Russian nesting doll of game development.
There you go.
Studios.
With several dolls on each layer. U.S. judges agreed to temporarily block Microsoft's acquisition of Activision.
Yeah, we get to see what concessions the U.S. government is going to get out of Microsoft. The UK got or the EU got theirs, and now the U.S. government wants theirs. So I'm curious to see what the pound of flesh is going to be in the U.S.
I think this one was. I'm not super surprised about this one because the actual due date for approving was in July. Approving or denying was in July. So temporarily blocking it in this case. From one thing that I read was that this isn't unheard of on the path to securing an acquisition like this. Like it's like they're temporarily blocking it. They're getting more information, and it's likely, what are those concessions? What are the what's the further paperwork? What are the what are you going to be doing with the studios, with the people, and those line items tends to be a lot of it. So I still feel like this will go through in the US, and I think in the UK, if it's still being hampered, then you'll still get those games there. It'll just be, Call of Duty will be published by Embracer. That'll be PlayOn will be publishing Call of Duty, but Microsoft will be making all the money. So that's just how it'll be. It's just a stupidity by the UK since everybody else started proving this. But yeah, I think this is this is just a step on the way to confirming what will likely end up happening. Again, I'm not a business person, but that's sure what it feels like. Let's see other news here. I'm flipping through SideQuesting.com where we have a lot of news. Steam got that UI update, which was
Steam.
Pretty damn cool. Yeah,
I was wondering if this was going to make it in. I was going to mention it if it did.
No, I'm going to share this thing. Go ahead and talk.
They fixed it. They fixed it. They made everything look the same. They did it.
Yeah, I mean it was a good standardization of a lot of the UI elements that have kind of been creeping up over the past few years. Some of the stuff, not these aren't features that were on Steam Deck, but some of the design elements that they had been working on for Steam Deck kind of made its way back onto the desktop version. Plus the neat little tools and stuff that kind of got it wasn't leaked, but it was in preview.
Yeah.
Before
beta preview. Yep.
Like the notes that you can add from the Shift Tab menu, which is being shown right now.
It's so cool.
The notes are really, really. It's probably going to be one of the coolest parts because it syncs just in the same way that game save sync. So if you have multiple devices running Steam and you write this little opaque, or slightly translucent note, which is really awesome. That will get picked up on another device that you launch Steam on. It's really
like Steam Deck, which is great, and my MacBook. No, it's cool. I was very happy
playing
with
lots of Steam games on your MacBook for sure.
Yeah, streaming it from my Steam Deck to my MacBook.
Yeah. More likely.
More like that's why I played Peppa Pig in a coffee shop. I'm telling you, go read that review. But no, I was actually very happy about this because I said finally, because I have been a hound for Steam to get their freaking act together and be like, you guys, they need to update, at least start updating it, make it, put it forward to a direction that gets closer and more user friendly. It's like what consoles are doing. And this, to me, this is almost, there's some aspects of this which are very console-ish, like that overlay system, because this is how people have kind of adapted to gaming. They want the quick access overlays. They want to be able to give themselves notes and that kind of stuff. So they're doing things on console, and to see those finally start really making their way in on Steam proper, I think is really good. And for me, the actual best part is that this is back end stuff, which means now you can roll out code from on one that applies to all of them, instead of having to build a separate Steam client for the Steam Deck, separate for Linux and Mac, separate for PC, separate for big picture. This is all kind of running off of one basic structure code. So I think
bold of you to assume that it won't be broken.
Yeah, I know, but yeah, but it's good. So yeah.
We can hope. We
can hope. What other news is there? I'm trying to see if there's anything else worth mentioning. I mean, I'm sure there's all the news and all that kind of stuff. Summer Game Fest is returning next year. We already, no.
The co-founder of Rockstar.
Oh yeah, Dan Houser, right?
Yeah, he's gone.
Well, he left a while ago.
No, yeah,
he left a while ago, but now he's like, hey, I'm gonna do a bunch of stuff. Like he's doing live action, animation, video games, comic books.
That just sounds like a production studio.
That just sounds like a production studio. But no, I mean that seems like what executives do, what rich people do, right? They can't shake what they're famous for.
He's got a really big head. That's all.
Yeah.
That's all.
Hey, when you've made one of the most popular franchises in the world, you can have as big of a head as you want. Unfortunately,
no, like physically, not like ego. I'm looking at a picture of him. No, I'm looking at this picture.
That's
he's got a big head.
If not, he's kind of like the. I mean, not that I like labeling people, but I mean, he's incredibly talented as far as a creative is concerned. I mean,
he's also British, which is crazy.
Yeah, I mean, like that.
British people are crazy.
No, it's weird.
No,
it's weird.
It's insane that a British person wrote some of the most poignant stories of American culture that has ever been translated into video games.
Right.
That's
like, that's
I'm
insane.
Saying.
It's
that's what's weird to me. It's like, how is this British guy? How does he know our culture better than most of us do? It's
weird. Wild. It's wild.
He's smart. But...
Okay, let's get into some games that we've been playing. I think that was it for news. I want to get into some of the games that we've been playing. Beat it, scram, Taylor. So here's what's gonna happen. We're gonna avoid the Zelda stuff maybe towards the very end. We'll kind of briefly touch on it. No spoilers, because I haven't beaten it. Sam hasn't beaten it.
Listen, it's mostly because let me put this gracefully. There's these things called forever games. And Zelda's right up there with me, and you're like, wow, well, wasn't Breath of the Wild? And and this is a very rare instance where, like, in my mind forever, these games will be one, and that's fine. And I have 100 hours in Tears of the Kingdom.
I think I'm pretty close. I'm pretty close there.
And I will probably put damn near 200 more, if not 400-ish more into it. I'm not ready to talk about it yet. Let's put it
that's fine. Let me go ahead, Zach, because I do have a question for Sam.
I had to force myself to beat it before the Final Fantasy Timo came out, because I knew the moment I got to play Final Fantasy 16, all interest in Zelda would just go away. Sure. So I was like, I need to beat this fast. So like,
and I fully understand that for people. Yeah. But in the same way for that, for Final Fantasy, it is the same way for Zelda for me, as in all other things must not exist.
Yeah.
In games terms, in single player experiences for that to happen.
I hit a different point than Zach did, which is I was purposefully not finishing the game, and so I was going around and doing other things, and I was slowly creeping. I could feel it in my just emotional state as I played it. I was like, I was slowly creeping towards, I don't want to do this as much as I did yesterday, and it kept creeping up more and more, and then I was like, I don't know if I really care about illuminating the whole underground. I don't know if I really care about getting that other shrine anymore.
Sure.
And then I'd be thinking instead. So
yeah, I don't know how to say that I haven't entered a point in that game yet where I've decided that like, oh, I'm going to run out of things or my interest is going to wane, that I need to direct myself towards that conclusion to even maybe give myself more to do, if that makes sense. Like so far,
are we just going to have the conversation now and then we'll go to the other stuff later?
I guess, if we're going to remain this vague about it. Let's say I have 2 of the 4 main chunks, let's say.
Yep.
And
I'll tell you when my barrier hit, and that was when I fought a white man Lionel. How about that's
the white man Lionel?
The white man, yeah.
The white maned.
White man. I said a white man Lionel.
It's I don't know, because it goes back to, and when I'm done with it, I kind of want to have a much broader conversation, because it kind of goes back to what we've talked about with Elden Ring. There's been a couple of times where I've run up to something, died once or twice, and gone, you know what? Like let's go do something completely on the other side of the map.
It has that very similar feel of like, I think I'm gonna go, and then you just leave.
Yep.
Which is always
like it's like, I'm going to figure out this puzzle, and then you accidentally launch something off the side of of a floating island. You're like, you know what? No, maybe not now. You know what? Maybe in about 4 hours. Maybe if I think about it, we'll come back to this. There's so much of that going to an area and going, I'm going to just take out my horse with a hitch on it, just patrol from this side of this map that I have discovered to this side of the map I've discovered, and run into like 45 separate things to do, whether that be Koroks to wells or caves.
The well quest is really good.
Yeah, it is.
I'm jealous because like my brain doesn't work that way. Yeah, I don't do that. Like it's like
same.
It just like the idea of like, I'm gonna sit up the hitch and just like see where it takes me. I'm never gonna do it. It's just never gonna happen.
See, that's what I do to relieve myself from like, like I've been in the underground and all I've been doing is running to these different well spots for the last like 45 minutes. I need to do anything else but this right now. Not that I like hate myself for doing that, but like, I have lost, to your point, I have lost the enjoyment of that in this very moment.
Sure.
So I need to find something that's the complete opposite to do. Sure. So let's go play a horse detective for the next like hour and see what's up.
My issue has been the game is so big that like I had a point where I was loving just hanging out in the upside down, I call it, the underworld. Hanging on the upside down and just lighting everything, just filling out that map. I'm like, oh, this is cool. And then I got to the point, I'm like, you bump into some coliseums, other crap down there. I'm like, yeah, it's starting to wear on me a little bit. You see some like monsters that are just way too powerful, that kind of stuff. Then I'm like, okay, I'm going to hop back upstairs into the regular world. And I go there and I'm there for like 15, 20 hours doing shit. And I'm like, I'm going to hop into the Skylands for a little while. And I'm in the Skylands for like, 8, 10 hours just doing shit. And then I'm like, oh yeah, I've only gotten one of the freaking, I'm only at 25% of this main quest of the thing that I have to get because I keep like sidetracking. So what I've started to shift towards now is, obviously opened up all the map and on the main area, open up the majority of the Sky Islands and open up the majority of the map down south. And I'm like, okay, I've polished off the existing quests that I have. I'm going to go finish this next major story chunk. And then inevitably I'll get a bunch of more quests and I'll pick apart a few of those and then start that cycle all over again because it's just so easy for me to get sidetracked. I just checked right now. I'm at like close to 65 hours into this game, maybe even more. And I only have one, like not even 25% of this game done because I'm just fucking around. I get sidetracked so easily. So easily.
That was me.
Yeah, I promise you, and this is actually one of the problems with the game, is that just because you've only done 25% of that portion of the quest, you have done far more than 25%.
Oh yeah, of course. This is exactly what happened to me in Breath of the Wild, by the way.
Well, and in no way am I, I'm
not upset. I'm
going to believe that I'm going to find every Korok seed, and that's going to be a mission of mine. That absolutely ain't happening. And the number of times one of those suckers has been like, my friends left me. I'm like, you guys got to learn and have run the opposite direction.
Dude, it does the zoom out to the smoke, and I'm like, yeah, that's pretty far, dog. I'll see you later.
The number of times it's zoomed out, I've been like, well, it sounds like your friend's an asshole, and I just
sounds like you're not friends anymore.
That's like, wow, he really just left you, huh?
Catch up and walk 2 miles down the hill. Fuck that guy, man. You're better off.
So the problem, not a problem, but it's a personal issue, I guess. But the way I play open world games is I really always like to take the slowest way to get around. Like in Breath of the Wild, I never use horses. Like I walked everywhere.
I walked.
I just love to walk. In The Witcher 3, I just walk. And just games like that, I've always just loved to just be in the moment. That's why when Death Stranding
came out,
be in the world.
That's why
when Death Stranding came out, I was like, oh, he made a game for me. Like I play games like this anyways. Like any open world game, I'm gonna do this walk. So Tears of the Kingdom has forced me to actually fast travel and use the faster mechanics in the game, which I would normally not even partake in. But now it's okay, I'm gonna go to this tower, then I'm gonna go up and Fortnite dive so I can get to places faster, just so I can do things. And there's an armor set you can get in the islands. If you upgrade them, all 3 pieces, you don't have any damage when you fall. So you can just Fortnite fall directly into the ground if you want to, and that's really fun. So you just I would just go up, and then I would paraglide as far as I could, then I would just dive as far as I could, and then just land on my feet and keep going. And that's how I covered a lot of the game. Because that, especially towards the end, where I was I gotta it's starting to get thin, man. I need to finish this game as fast as I can. I finished the game with 10 hearts, 11 hearts.
Okay, wow. Okay.
I was just okay, you know what? I'm gonna parry everything. I'm actually gonna just hardcore mode this baby game. That's what I did for the last half. But I have issues with it. I think there's problem. I think they've done so much with the gameplay. They've made it so good that everything else is oh, that's where you need to work on next. And it's so apparent. He's please work on a better story. Figure out a way to railroad us a little bit and give us a good, concise, linear story. I would love that. I don't like the tears. I don't like going to the past and seeing all these things. I just want
I'm okay with story. I'm okay with some of that stuff. Yeah, I'm okay with looking at going to the tiers and looking at them. Yeah. It is phenomenally bizarre that there's
freedom.
There's too much freedom. And
this,
I think was it Corey who said it, or somebody said it in the Discord pretty succinctly, which is I shouldn't be able to see the last memory first. The last memory is so important.
It's so important
for the overall story, and it shouldn't be possible to do it. It's one of those things where it's important enough to the narrative, the narrative crescendo. They've crafted something where I would feel less strongly about it if it didn't feel like it was wrong, right? If you watch them in order and you get them in order, it feels right. Mm-hmm. And if you don't, it feels wrong. And that's the only reason why I have an issue with it. Yeah. The same thing happens with the shrines, which is it feels really silly. It feels really, really silly to find a tutorial shrine after, like, so because there are specific shrines that are in the game which are oriented pretty closely around the starting zone, where if you get them, there's a good chance that it's going to be like, here, all right, we're going to teach you how to sneak attack. Okay, we're going to teach you how to throw a thing. Okay, we're going to teach you how to shoot a bow. I saw some of those at 65 hours. I'm like, dog, I don't know how to tell you how long ago
this is also like miles away from where you start too. It's like, okay, I'm out towards Terrytown. Let's see what's here. Oh, a sneaking tutorial. Cool.
Like, was I supposed to? Was that, like what was supposed to draw me to go to this look? Like, somebody chose them. Like, a designer said, we should put this one here because there's a good chance that they're going to do X, Y, and Z and go here. And I don't like that mentality. I don't think is enough.
So what's interesting is that I had the same experience, like in certain areas. Like I would bump into shrines later on down in parts where I'm like, oh, this is pretty far away. Why am I getting a tutorial shrine on shooting an arrow into the middle of into a construct's eye? Right? It's like I've had the bow for a long time, but then you speak to people, and I spoke to people at the Summer Game Fest weekend who were like, that was crucial for them, some of that stuff, because they took Nintendo has an intended path, whereas a lot of us, we're so used to breaking the path and going. Like, I went as far around as possible to open up every freaking sky tower. By doing that, I learned mechanics in the game. I didn't learn mechanics from the shrines. I had all the shrine shit figured out by the time I opened up all the Skyview towers, because that's what taught me how to do the shit. But people don't follow that same path. Now, maybe they could have set it up so that the third shrine you go to, or the fifth shrine you go to, wherever it is, teaches you this. Maybe that's a way to do that.
God, imagine the sweat beating on game guide writers' brows, where you can no longer associate the name of a shrine with a specific puzzle.
Well, like, I think it's like what Dali's saying, like, that's true 100%. Like, we all play games differently, especially with Tears of the Kingdom. Especially this game. There's really no like right way to play it or wrong way to play it. But I really do think they need to redesign their ideas of what a shrine is, and redesign and like, because like Nintendo, especially with Zelda before Breath of the Wild, they were really hammered on like, you're way too hands-on. This is way too much on the rail. Yeah. And then they corrected with their next game, and then they went even further, and they need to dial it back a little bit. Like, just take notes from like Xenoblade, take notes from those games and how they do their narrative, how they do
those guys help design Zelda.
I know. That's what I'm saying, is like, let them help you with the other things, because like they clearly are focusing, they're clearly putting so much thought and love into the gameplay and how the game works, and this like amazing magical video game. Like, that's just what it is. And like the story, I hate it, it sucks, whatever, but it's just like the game is still really good. Like, it's still a good game. I enjoyed my time with it, but it makes me angry that that's like, I can see the cracks. I can see what they need to fix because they've done such a good job. And that's praise. Like, that's praise still. Like, you've done way too good that I can see the bad stuff happening still. Like,
I've been shaking my head this whole time, which you guys have been able to see in my static image. But basically, I totally agree. Some Otis, I think, does have to fall on the player. In some ways, everybody wanted to give, to go back to Elden Ring, crap for, oh, you missed the tutorial thing, right?
That was me. Right? I missed the tutorial. You guys gave me shit.
The tutorial thing could just be the entire game if you just are ignorant to needing to know where you're going. Yeah. And there's so much at the beginning of that game that's so heavy-handed. That's like, hey, dog, like, welcome to like the land. You know what you should do? Go hang out with the Rito. Like they're what's up. You should go.
Go there.
Yeah, 90% of people are like or like, I don't even know what a Reno is, but sounds cool, dog. And then just doesn't once. I had a friend who was like, yo, I just met the bird people. I was like, how long have you been playing? You just quote met the bird people.
Yeah,
but that's the other thing is like, it's also like there needs to be either, again, I don't know how you do this, but there needs to be something that helps the player to understand, like, hey, not here right now. Like, whether it's like a traveler or something that comes by and goes, dude, you're not ready. There needs to be some way to tell, like, players.
Sorry, my sign
identify.
is blocking the entrance to the shrine, and you don't have the tool set to open up.
Well, it's not even the tool set, right? Because I feel like a lot of those like tutorial things, some of that stuff doesn't feel as crucial. Like, I don't know necessarily that you need to teach a player how to counter with their shield, but when you learn that your shield can counter, and then once you can mount items onto your shield, and then you can, when you use your counter, it's basically like a bash attack. Like, they try to do some of that with teaching you with enemies and stuff, but there still isn't, I feel like even with players, like, you can directly show them like another character, like, pick up an item and like, or, like, pick up an arrow and put like a fire thing on the end of it, and it becomes a fire arrow. And 2 hours later, some player will go, how the fuck do you do a fire arrow? Like, like, that's gonna be somebody no matter what you do. But at the same time, there definitely is some leeway to be a little bit more hands-on. That's like, hey, like, to go into some more stuff, like, these guys that are preparing for a battle, like, maybe you craft some items for them while they're preparing for battle. So it's like, about putting construct horns on the end of sticks to basically make swords.
Well, yeah, and that's the thing, is that, like, there's a real lack of direction on the fuse, because there is specific design choices that were made of, like, because you've got the construct weapons, and then you've got human weapons, and certain things go on certain things, and like monster parts work really well on swords, and how, like, on basically on the human weapons. And like, this sounds obvious, but like, there was based on what the weapons look like after you fuse them, there's a clear intention that was meant to be done, of like, these things go better on here. And the ones that are really obvious are construct items on construct weapons, right? That okay, sure, that's all well and good. But to Sam's point, like, the little thing of like, give the player a way other than just fudging it. Like, give them the opportunity to see a direct cause and effect.
Well, and people around tell you things and like will fill you in on some of this stuff. And like, no one directly tells you, like, hey, if you pay attention to those posters, like, you'll learn recipes. But like, you're kind of, the player is kind of left to understand that on
that
their
part
own.
I'm cool with. I'm totally cool with going to the stables and there's recipes on the walls.
Yeah, but like, even to your point about like weapons, like, there are people that are like, there's actually a lady at a stable that says, oh, what would be the strongest weapon if you put, this monster toe or whatever with like this weapon. It's like, if you have one of those, like, bring it to me. And there's plenty of people. I like to call it.
They're too easy to miss, though. Well, is my problem.
So here's the thing: they try to do what I like to refer to as the Jesus text, but it's when Nintendo is directly going, "Could you pay attention to at least this word?" And it's whenever you're reading anything in the dialogue and it's just highlighted in red. It's usually singular words or like phrases that you're gonna see multiple people repeat. And like, I think they're trying their best of like, can you please just maybe be interested in people around here? It's not like Skyrim. You don't need to know that this person is the third sister of, somebody's brother, and they want you to kill this person because they have somebody that's from this town and somebody's attacking that town. Please go help them. Like, that's what that was in the conversation, but it was an entire paragraph of a conversation. And some people just hit A the whole time, and it's like, you didn't give me an option to take anything or sell anything, so you're not interested.
I moved on.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I mean, I get that. Like I said, I think that for me, the biggest thing is they tried to concentrate a lot of those conversations at the stables. I think that there wasn't enough of a focus on the stables. Like, you go to the stables, the biggest thing that brings you there is if you get a specific side quest that encourages you to find all of them and to go to them, and another side quest that's adjacent to the stables. And I guess my thing is that, like, they're super unimportant side quests. Like, they're not mandatory in any capacity. And I don't think that they're that hard to miss. I find that they were very easy to not partake in, and that's my biggest issue with those.
Yeah. Hey, Sam, have you seen all the tiers yet?
I have not. No.
Okay. Have you seen the last?
I have not seen the last one, but I've seen a number of crucial ones. Let me tell you, because and it feels like with the tiers, those are maybe the easiest that you could be like, oh, well, when you find the first one, it pulls from like these, handful of ones, and you find, once you find, how many are there? Like 11?
12.
11 or 12. Yeah.
There's 18 total. 6 of them are like through cuts, like through the story, and then
sure.
12
the crop circles, for lack of a better term.
God, they're annoying. I hate them so much.
It feels like they probably could have set it up where, some of them are maybe from a random pool, and then once you get to like 6 through 11, those ones are in a set order or something like that, right? Feels like you could maybe do something like that instead of like, here's the one that's like chronologically, at least this is how it played out for me. It's like chronologically, here's the one that happened maybe directly after the events of the opening, if you want to say that. And then it's now 10 further down the line, and some shit's gone down. And maybe some stuff that, like, yeah, you could have inferred from some other stuff that was going on, but like, that's like thinking about like watching like the opening of the Fast and the Furious movie, and then watching when they race the train. It's like there's like 10 to 15 minutes of that movie left after that, but like not a whole lot.
Yeah.
Not a whole lot.
I'm trying to figure out a way to like word this, but the whole last end of the tiers, I stumbled upon that whole thing without ever seeing any of the tiers. Like, I just was like, what? Like, like, what? Like, it's just like, it was weird. I was like, wait, so, and then I just like, because I was just exploring, and I was like, let me go over there, that thing, and there's like big story thing.
I'll put it this way, Sam, have you found the fate of the Master Sword?
Nope.
Okay.
Yeah, so yeah, I found that without knowing any context, and it kind of ruined everything for me. So,
so if I'm being honest with you, I did not have not a large percentage of my map, but let's say maybe the last 3 or 4 sky towers until maybe the last like 20 hours of playing, I'd say. Mostly because I just
insane
kind of do it. I know. Was kind of doing other stuff.
What are you talking about?
So I got to a point where I was like, you know what? I want to move around this map more fluidly. So that's why I started to do it. And I'll agree with you. Like, and I'll say that I think that the problem with the stables is they're too centralized towards the center of the map. There's like not a stable that's at like the top left corner or like, the far bottoms of the map. So you get into the situation where like yesterday I was just like trying to find a shrine in the top like left area of the like the whole map. And I floated over there and, found one. went and did the inside the shrine, and then looked at my partner and was like, and I'm teleporting away to like not come back up here for like another like 10 hours or whatever.
If ever.
Yeah, if to be fair, if ever. And that's something I'm totally cool with. And you know, I just find it's like, you know, maybe it's the Persona thing for me, is there's so many different outlets of gameplay, and I can choose to engage with any of them at any time. And that includes the, like, you know, children's book adaptation of the movie, which is the Tears of the Kingdom storyline, you know, going around. But I, you know, to that credit, to the other portion of that, though, is like every single one of these towns feels like not only is it like involved in a current situation, but that situation evolves as you do things there and in other places. So like even the what is it called, Landmark Landing, I think, is the like first area that's there. The like sort of you know, I guess spoilers for that area. But you land there, so... you know, that's where, I guess. But for we have people that, you know, supposedly listen to this. You know, you land there first, essentially, or the game is pretty specific about, hey, when you touch ground, maybe when you touch grass, maybe go over here.
Hey, maybe do that, but then you don't have to. You can just like leave.
Have to. And you know, if any of the guides or any of the, like, you know, you should do this when you start the game, will tell you that you should go and do that, and get your glider and the sky tower. But even that, you can leave, and if you come back, then it's like, oh hey, at the center of this place, like there's like a cool like mission spot, and there's missions in there that you can take. And then you'll go and you'll learn some stuff, and you'll come back, and it's like, oh yeah, like we'd love to open a stable here, but we can't quite construct like the roof of this place, right? You make a stable.
Don't worry.
Yeah. And then
I don't think I ever got the mission stuff, by the way.
Oh, really? Down there?
Help the people inside a little circle thing?
Yeah, inside the like landing area.
Did you ever get to like spec change? Like you can change you can exchange hearts for stamina.
Yes. Yeah.
Did you ever get that?
I did.
Yeah, I mean, you just keep talking to them. I mean, you get more.
Yeah, there's a guy that's at like a war table. You never talked to that guy at the war table?
I talked to him once.
Well, but that's my point. So then you can. So here's the thing. I'm pretty sure it's tied to helping those soldiers out in the field. So as soon as I helped those soldiers, he was like, "Oh, great that you helped those soldiers. We have some other things, like including these big targets that would be great if you would like go and help us with if you've got time." And you know, you can do those. Yeah, look at you. You didn't even see it, huh? Yeah, that's my point, is those towns like keep growing to the point, and even more in that stable, you get the like further quests with that, and it just
the towns and the quests that were created are the best part of the game, I think.
Exactly. You know, we're gonna continue spiraling. We said we're not gonna talk. We've talked for about almost 40 minutes about Zelda,
and I can't wait to talk for like a 2-hour Zelda cast.
We'll do an actual Zelda cast, yeah, maybe later in the summer for sure.
Once everybody actually has the story, then we can commence the ultimate dunking.
Yes,
in 2032 when Dali's finally beaten the game.
Just close your eyes and imagine what you think the story is going to be, and that's exactly what it is.
Yeah. Let's see. I wonder. Okay, let's move on to other things that we've been playing, because we're going to end on a huge review. But
huge
review.
Let's start with me, since I'm back. Zach. I'm new here.
I've heard
of it. I'm new here.
I have a fun story to tell about how I acquired Final Fantasy 16. Okay. Yeah. So for work, for freelancing, there's this program I use called Notion, and it's pretty well used in industries and stuff. But they, like a couple months ago, they put out this like email, like, hey, if you review Notion on this website called G2, it's like a professional like tech review website. we'll give you a gift card for reviewing it. And I was like, okay. So I reviewed it, and then like it was like $25, cool, right? And then they come back to me this month, like, hey, you can review products for $10. I'm like, okay. But they put a hard cap on it, so you can only do one. So I just like kept making new accounts.
Nice.
And I just got a bunch of gift cards and I bought the game. So I just would find like things that I've never used before. I've been like, let me Google what this application does, and then I'm like, okay, time to write a review. And then they have to manually approve it too. It's not like it just comes to you. They read it and then they approve it and it gets sent to you. So I made $80 and I just went ahead and bought the game. So that was a fun. They only need a screenshot for proof. Or if you say, "Are you still using it?" and you say no, they don't ask for a screenshot.
So you're gonna have to send us this link in our Discord, because I'm gonna do this shit and I'm gonna finally get some people to afford some games. Dude, this is awesome. Very good. So
that's how I got.
I like that story. It's great.
Got the game. Yeah, no, I've been grinding at it for like this month because I was like, what's like, oh, I can do this, cool, let's just like steal some money, let's just have some fun. So
what are the homies doing tonight? Yo, we're grinding out Amazon gift cards.
Yeah, so yeah, I did that, and that was great. It was a fun little experience.
I think it's good.
Yeah,
man.
And then so then I played the demo. I think so. I mean, I was already going to like the game. I've been excited for it. Final Fantasy, I love it. I love the team, whatever. But I was just kind of like blindsided by how different it is. Like, because like they've been saying like this is a different Final Fantasy game. It's more dark. It's more focused on story, which is like saying that for a Final Fantasy game is kind of like weird, because it's like Final Fantasy is always about the story. There's always like something.
I want you to go into the Final Fantasy that's not about story.
Yeah, this one they've been like, hey, story first, and I was like, okay, whatever. But then I played the prologue, which is like the first 2 hours of the game, and I was just like, this is way too much info. My brain is about to blow up. They like have this thing called the active time lore that you can access, which is like so cool. It's like during a cutscene, you press the pad and it pulls up like bubbles of all the things that are currently in the cutscene interacting with each other. So it's like Clive, his mom, his brother, his dad, where they're from, all these things, and they will update as the cutscene gets further along. So the next time you see them, it'll be like, okay, new things here going on. So it's just really cool, and you can do it at any time, even when you're playing the game, like during like a fight or whatever. You just press the button, pops up, it'll tell you the lore. Really cool, and it introduces you to some really interesting things if you want to be that type of person. In general, the story is there's 5 crystals. People are fighting over power because blah blah blah. People with certain biology in their genes can become icons and possess the powers of the crystals. Each nation has their own icon, and they're just vying for power. They're basically nukes, is kind of the thing. And the interesting thing I found out that really blew my mind was there's a scene where Clive's mom and dad are like on the bed about to have sex. But
let's keep it to coitus.
Yeah, this is a family show.
But they get into a fight. I was like, interesting. So I clicked the lore button, go in there. It's like, Clive's like dad and mom are cousins, and his mom has been chosen from birth, and she's from a long line of families.
They're really going for this. They've come
from a long line of families that have produced the most icons. So people with certain amounts of like I don't know what makes up a person who can use magic or use an icon, but her family line has the most results. And her 2 kids, Clive and Joshua, are like Clive can't use it. He was supposed to be the one who could like become the Phoenix, become like the thing. His younger brother Joshua has it. So she kind of hates Clive and loves Joshua because he's like the cool thing. And a bunch of stuff happens. But yeah, I was just like, all that stuff I just talked about is stuff I learned from the active time lore thing, right? It's like stuff that I am privy on before it gets to in the cutscenes later on, It's like, and it's also in there in the subtext of the cutscenes. Like I can tell that his mom hates him. I'm like, if I'm curious why, I can look at the bio and see it. But if I don't, like the subtext is still there, which is like, it's just really impressive. It's like, okay, they really focused on this story and the writing and the characters, and they filled out this world to where no matter where you approach it from, it's always going to like make logical sense. And it's just wild. Like I wasn't expecting that. And that's just me as a fan. Like I wasn't expecting that level of thought. And yeah, it's pretty crazy. And it's also, I'm just excited to have like a lot of cutscenes in a Final Fantasy game and just like go through it. But then the combat is super fun. It's a Devil May Cry game. It's like crazy. There's people making videos on YouTube going crazy, talking about tech and cancels and all these things. And I'm just like, okay, so I have that to dig into, but I also have this story to like bite into and like devour. And it's really exciting. And I think the biggest takeaway for me, at least, is I've been watching a lot of other people play the Timo. They've been doing a pretty big like press push with streamers and stuff. And I'm watching streamers who normally don't really play games or play games like this, like people who react to like rap music or do react content or just like talk to the camera, don't play games. They're playing the game. And they're enjoying it. That's also part of their job. But the big thing to me is watching their chat and their chat being like, oh my God, like, whoa, like the chat reacting and like having genuine interaction with the game, which is something that a Final Fantasy game really doesn't ever bridge that gap. It's always just kind of been like, it's a big series for people who are into games, but it's never really bridged that like kind of like the normie gap, I guess you can call it. But it's like, it's really interesting to watch people who just play Call of Duty or play Fortnite engage with this story and be like, this is cool. Like, I want to play this game. And that makes me really excited to see what the sales are going to be for this. Because I really do feel like they are going to hit it out of the park. And it's thankful because of Game of Thrones. Like, it's a good cultural touchstone. People love Game of Thrones, and it's a lot like Game of Thrones, and that lets people latch onto it, so then they can take it off into a different spot. Like
you mentioned the sales for this thing. First of all, I'm super excited. I'm going to be picking this up. Trying to decide if I want to pre-order so I can get the steel book or wait until sometime in July, or who knows. But when there'll be an inevitable sale. Sales numbers wise, the vibe that was around SGF and the folks that I was talking to was this will sell really well, but not nearly as much as Final Fantasy VII Remake. That it's hampered by the fact that there's other big games in June, and like Street Fighter, and there's like 2 other things coming out, Diablo, and that there is a general consensus, just general feel that this isn't going to sell a ton because it is just confined to the PS5, which still doesn't have the numbers of other platforms. But
but
I think we talked about that in the past. Yeah.
A lot of that was before this kind of like, because a lot of people are genuinely shocked with like the reaction to the positive reaction to this, of even people outside of like the sphere I was talking about. So I really do think the unexpected of like these people who play FIFA games are excited for this game, because it's just such a weird marketing thing going on that I'm really excited to see what happens with it, because I feel like it's going to be more than what people expect. It's not going to be like God of War numbers or whatever, but it's going to be bigger than I think a lot of people.
I hope
are expecting. So yeah,
it'll do well in Japan. I know that.
I will say anecdotally, I am a noted hater of the Final Fantasy series. Not so much like hater of the series, but I just haven't enjoyed them in a long time. The last one I played through was the boy band one, and I finished that game just so I could talk trash on it. I still can't tell you how fighting works in that game. And the whole point of playing
I just like you're like listen, I don't like those games. The last one that I even managed to beat was the last one before this one.
So listen, I only played it because thank you PlayStation for when you buy a game digitally.
Yeah.
And like when your brother buys a game digitally and then you can play it on the same account, like on the other side of the country. I didn't do any, so that you want to talk about a game that I just mainlined this main quest until I had to grind for levels and then did that for a little bit.
You walk in a hallway.
I couldn't tell you much about that story either because I just did select the game so much. Everything I've seen on this new Final Fantasy has interested me in it more and more, including
I told you.
I watched the beginning of that Final Fantasy thing. I think it was very endearing that the president of Square Enix, came out and spoke in English to the crowd, which I thought was very cute. But at the same time, I think it was kind of the right move for me, who's like, meh, Final Fantasy, and then have the Platinum Games crew show up. Showed off a lot of gameplay, hearing about that. I'm sorry, I didn't catch the name of what the system is of seeing the story in kind of real time, like checking the stats of the story in real time. Like
ATL.
Like that sounds cool as somebody who is constantly confused. And also for somebody who has a partner who often shows up in the middle of something and goes, "Who's that? And why do you care?" And then you just being able to hit a button, it's like you could just read this while I'm going to the bathroom real quick. Sounds like an amazing system to be able to share a game with somebody too. I mean, I have not checked out the demo yet. It's like the one demo I haven't quite gotten a chance to see.
It's pretty good.
Which we'll talk about during my time of games played. That's probably going to be Saturday night, I would assume. It's going through that prologue for me.
Yeah. See, that's what I'm talking about, Dali, is that's what happened. There's so many people like Sam that I've seen that they're like, I had no interest, but now because of this, because like there's so many things that happened before that we as nerds knew about. We knew it was the Devil May Cry guy. We know it's the Final Fantasy 14 team. We know they're super passionate and they love their fans, blah blah blah. But the mainstream wasn't aware of that until this, and then now it's showing, and it's like, oh, there's a lot of people taking notes, and it's really exciting. I'm just like, I'm excited to play it.
So what do we think? I mean, PS5 is realistically at what, like around 40-ish million sales at this point?
Around the world, 30 something, 30.
Because it was 38. It was 38.5.
Let's say 40 million. Yeah.
At the end of April.
Yeah.
So we're closing in on 2 more months. So we'll round it to 40 million just to be safe.
About 4 million in Japan, or sorry, about 3 million in Japan for the.
So what do we think? What do you think worldwide sale?
Worldwide, Zach, like I think it can. I think it could easily worldwide week 1 3 mil. Like, I think that's the low end. I think that's what I think they're definitely going to hit that. Square Enix is probably expecting triple or quadruple that, but like
Square Enix out there, they're scheduling an investor call the Monday after release. We did not hit our expectations of 25% attach rate of the whole console market.
Have they talked pre-order numbers at all, just out of curiosity?
Because they're tracking lower.
So they're tracking lower, but that was before all this happened. Though
that was pre-demo talk.
Pre-demo, the demo.
Pre-demo talk.
I'm telling you, dude.
But for real, the demo absolutely changed a lot for them. Because what it was is their comment was that Final Fantasy 16 was trending lower in comparison to Final Fantasy 15 pre-orders, even taking multi-platform into consideration.
Yeah.
And I mean, like Final Fantasy 15, I just looked it up. Lifetime sold 10 million. I mean,
that's pretty low.
That's pretty low, and
bad.
And the game is bad, and the whole message behind that game was like, hey, this game, the story isn't there. There's no story here, and they're gonna patch it in later, and you have to buy DLC. That was a story from the get go, and people still bought it. And it's I don't think a lot of those sales are on Xbox or PC compared to like PS4. So yeah, the game 16 has the potential to be huge for the series, and I think it will. But it's reaching audiences I just didn't expect it was going to reach. So
you what was your number again, Zach?
I said 3 million like week 1. Okay. Like I think that's just being being very, very generous.
If they close in on 10% attach in the first week, you would hope that that's a pretty big win for the team.
What's your guess here? I'm gonna write these down, and we'll revisit them.
I actually think it's going to do very well because in a weird way, because of how bad the other PlayStation Showcase was, especially for the US market. 16 had its big showing before that showcase, and now everybody's in their little gaming hype mode. So Summer Games Fest happened. Everybody's like, they care about video games. Final Fantasy 16 reshowed. It dropped the demo. I'm gonna guess that it's gonna potentially break 5 mil in first week.
I mean, that's like 3. Yeah, I mean,
because like there's nothing out. Like the PS Showcase showed nothing other than Spider-Man 2, basically. I mean, realistically, and so everybody's gonna be like, PS5 owner, all right, we're gonna pick up Final Fantasy 16. Okay.
No man. Also, Divers 2, 20% of the user base day one.
Also, just as like a tertiary thing. I had in my other Discord, which is the Final Fantasy 14 Discord, all my friends, blah blah blah. Only 2 other people in that Discord had PlayStation 5s, and then there's been like 20 of them that bought one just because of the thing. So just as a tertiary.
Sam,
I mean, but that's some anecdotal. The Final Fantasy crew is excited about Final Fantasy. As I said, that I just went through a whole anecdotal potential purchase of this Final Fantasy. So,
what's your number? What's your prediction?
Because here's the thing: you want it to be successful. Because why not?
Yeah.
But at the same time, you do have a good point of you are asking for what has in the past arguably been a sort of
more
niche specific type of gameplay. So I'm gonna think. Maybe we go low on the first weekend, but then it's got good build numbers. So I'm gonna think it's 2.3 weekend one. Because it's probably really something like 2.2, but they say 2.3 because they're like, that sounds better than just saying over 2 million. So hit us with that. And then I think you're gonna see a good steady growth afterwards.
Like a tumor, a good steady growth. I'm gonna go with
that word of mouth. You're talking about those guys. If some of those streamers and stuff actually do end up picking it up and streaming and talking about it, once you're no longer, I gotta believe some of them will be getting paid by Papa Square at the onset of it to try to push those numbers. But that ain't a game you stream twice and finish. So. If people stay on board, I could see that sell into that crowd pretty easily.
Final Fantasy VII Remake, which was the one that everybody was freaking talking about for years, had so much hype behind it, launched in 2020 to a console that had over 100 million user base, sold 3.5 million copies in its first weekend.
Yeah.
So I'm because of that. because that was the one that everybody said, this is it. Final Fantasy VII. This is the Final Fantasy VII game. My number is 2.5 or 2. I'm gonna go for 2.6 million for opening weekend, and it's not because Final Fantasy isn't popular or anything like that. The hype, I think, is going to help. It's because the install base is still low enough. If Final Fantasy 16 launched on a 100 million platform, then you'd see numbers that I think would be in the sixes and potentially the high sixes. But I feel like because the install base is still so low, I don't think I don't feel like people who are FIFA gamers are going to buy a PS5 for Final Fantasy 16. I don't think.
What if they already have one? I'm not saying
I think it's that you already have one, or if you're a Final Fantasy gamer, you can explain away. Well, I can also play 14 on here, right? Because don't they have a specific PS5 client now?
Now I feel like what might be the saving grace. And again, I'm high on Final Fantasy 16. I really enjoyed the demo. What might be the saving grace is folks who don't have Tears of the Kingdom and who loved Elder Scrolls. And again, I bring that up because I mentioned this way back when, and you guys laughed me off the podcast. There's Elder Scrolls influence in this because of that whole Game of Thrones, that feel, that the idea of there's these big monsters that you're going to go after. There's the talking points around, oh my God, I just beat Titan or whoever that was that they were showing in their demo, that battle where they kept dying, and then the battle director came in. I think that's going to help.
That wasn't even a boss.
Yeah, that was a hunt. But I feel like that is going to help. But then I also feel like there are still and this is where it could get hurt, is that there are still people playing Tears of the Kingdom that may hold off a little bit until later in the summer to get Final Fantasy because it's another huge game like that. Again, this is pure conjecture. I'm not a business person, blah, blah, blah. They may angle towards like a Street Fighter 6 or a Diablo because they're different enough from Zelda. But when you get another big, giant open world narrative game so close, that may be the only thing that sort of hampers it. But 2.6 million, that's on the low end of the scale for me. I'm totally, totally acknowledging that I may be way low on it. It's really just the install base, I think, that's holding it back more than anything else. But
I think we're also overlooking the God of War fans too.
We could be, because they're not always Final Fantasy players either. But
quick time events, baby.
Yeah, let's move on. Let's move on because we're at an hour and 42 minutes. Zach, have you been playing anything else that you wanted to touch on, or you want to save it for next week?
I'll save it.
Okay, because I know you have some review stuff coming up too. Taylor, what else have you been playing? Because we're gonna finish with Sam. Okay,
we already talked about it.
All right, sounds good. Everything that everybody else is playing. Sam, you have played some.
Oh, did we just lose the host of the show?
Good riddance.
Wow. Okay.
Why did you leave?
I don't know, but I'll cover hosting.
All right, here we go.
Okay, there he is.
Sorry about that. No, Sam, you've been playing some demos. I have videos that I'm going to start with.
I just gave you a list. I'll go in the order in which I sent them. Only because when Summer Game Fest, some people announced that they had demos. So I thought, why not try a couple of those out? So we're gonna lightning round through a couple of them. Some of the demos were pretty quick, and some of the videos that they have to show them are pretty short. So this is Wood Plus Weather. Hey, you remember that one level from Banjo-Kazooie that was like you could change the different seasons? Well, imagine if those were weather patterns. And instead of Banjo and Kazooie, you were more of like a mystic hand that could move things around and solve puzzles.
Nice.
I love
this weird Playmobil visual style.
It's kind of like Playmobil-y. There was stuff like needing to freeze things over with it snowing and whatnot to make different actions happen. And it's just kind of like a puzzle game. It's cutesy, you can pick things up and throw it around and stuff like that and interact with different things. Free demo available now on Steam. Go check it out. Yeah, if you like that Banjo-Kazooie level, that's essentially what it is, honestly. It's just a kind of a puzzle game with that, and you look at very cute little isometric dioramas. I could see it being a VR game. It is not, at least not the demo that I saw. Visit store page. Just in case it is, it does not tell me it is. But it does tell me it's an indie casual game. All right, next one, Surmount. Hey, you ever played DK Swing? Or that indie game Heave Ho that was out for a while. It's kind of out for a while. It's currently still out. You can play it. But it's kind of like that. But
this one sucks.
And like Ben Foddy's Getting Up. Trish trying to climb up to the top of the hill. You have like mounting points that you can kind of mount your rope to get better.
Don't we all?
Off them. I didn't play the co-op. If there was co-op in the demo, I'm not sure.
Where's me?
Yeah, there's co-op that you can play where you're tethered between each other, and you can use each other as climbing things. Yeah, it's climb to the top of this mountain that no one has surmounted to the top of yet. So
Celeste, got it.
You know, yeah. As far as I know, not really cool chiptunes and artwork, but hey, Surmount.
This next game is really cool.
They put out the demo early because they were having it for Next Fest and everything else was coming out, and they were like, screw it.
This is the better rock climbing game, by the way. This game owns.
Yeah, this game
so
looks
good.
Yeah, it looks really cool.
Sick.
This game is like, hey, have you ever seen the climbing in video games? And you're like, man, that's actually really hard, but it would be cool if there was like a real game dedicated to that. Does anybody want to take a stab at how you pronounce it?
Jusant.
Basically is that you got your left and right grippers or your left and right triggers and it's momentum based. So cool. You just saw that in the little demo there, the person did a little pull up jump. I'm sure that has a technical term for rock climbers. Uppies, yeah, sure. You can do
big uppies.
That'd be great.
There's so many uppies. No, I mean basically it's rock climbing the game. This thing also has tether points that you can basically mount yourself for safety and to get around certain obstacles. It's got like for some reason Nathan Drake always drops in my head with the like rope running on the side of the wall and using that as like a momentum swing. Oh, here's some gameplay that we're watching. And this is all, well, this part I don't think is in the demo, but that opening part was all in the demo. Yeah, highly recommended. It was one of those where while I was watching, I think this was in the
Xbox
Future Game Show. Was it Xbox?
Yeah.
Oh, was it really?
Yeah, surprisingly, yeah.
Okay, I just remember watching it and going, "Oh man, it sucks that there's not going to be a demo of that." Lies. There's a demo on Steam.
Like the next day.
Check it out. Yeah.
Also, what I want to add is you can make your own checkpoints by like putting like nails. Yeah, you can put hooks. So you can like make your own progress up the mountain. It's super cool.
It feels like there's definitely going to be times further in the game where some of that stuff will probably be required to be utilized to like maneuver around. But then also, in that demo, you could definitely use them as like, okay, I've got a big jump coming up. I'd rather not go back 2 minutes worth of work. I can mount it here and then jump and see if I can ascend back if I need to. All right, and then the last one is a game called Battle Shapers, which is like, hey, do you like roguelikes and 2016 Doom? Because it's
I do.
It's the same thing, but then instead of like killing monsters and then being in hell or whatever, you're killing robots and being in the future? Question mark. But yeah, you've got like a Doomfist arm, and then you've got guns. So the Doomfist arm can be used like a Doomfist arm, and you can launch yourself towards enemies. You can also knock enemies into basically disabled or stunned states. That when you then use your rocket arm into them, gives you shield. So you're moving at the speed of Doom, and you're doing that to get shield back and stuff like that. Salvageable weapons from the game or from the ground. Occasionally picking up like cards to strengthen both those weapons and yourself throughout those runs. And then there, appeared to be systems that you could then level yourself up outside of the runs to make yourself stronger overall in those runs. It's a roguelike. You've played those before. But now it's first-person shooter and robots and guns and Doom. And it played pretty good. If you like fast-paced shooters, I would say check that one out. And then, yeah.
Early access, ew.
And then because I only played around with the beginning of the demo, and by that I mean I played with the visual settings and went, can't wait to try this out, and then didn't, was the Lies of P demo.
Oh, interesting.
Which looks cool, especially when you can use the like high frame rate mode and the prioritize graphics mode or whatever it's called.
There's an interesting. So I played that demo. Whenever you're loading, the game says now lying instead of now loading.
Yes, yeah.
Interesting.
And then you have like
makes you think.
And like his arm is like he has a mech arm, and you use it to like sharpen your sword.
Yeah, puts a real new meaning to edging. So it was, again, the first 20 seconds of the demo I played looked fun and cool. But much like the Final Fantasy demo, I want to check that out some more. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Played a lot of Zelda. Played another game that we can't quite talk about yet. Not until the 22nd. So maybe on the iteration of this podcast next week, I can talk about it. But yeah, until then, I'll be playing Zelda and yelling about it.
Just giving everybody a heads up.
Unbelievable.
JJ regrets to inform us that he loves The Flash. I enjoyed that movie. All right. One absolute last thing we have a phenomenal review, which we're gonna get into from Jonny. Did a kick-ass review again, and he's really kind of setting that bar high. And so now I've got to do a quick little video for my review, which I'm working on now. But before we play his review for Warhammer Boltgun, I want to thank all you guys, Taylor, Zach, Sam. Thank you, my yawn boys, I'm yawning too, for joining me this evening, spending a good 2 hours of your evening with me. It was a blast. I love chatting with my fam. This is my PAX East fam right here. Can't wait till next year. It's gonna be also a lot of fun. You can find us at SideQuesting.com, SideQuesting TV on YouTube and Twitch. Just go to the Discord. You'll find it in the link on this post, wherever you're seeing this post, whether it's YouTube or it's on the podcast feed or it's on the site. You can find us on Discord there. So, with that said, thank you everybody for joining us on this wonderful video. Thank you, listeners. Thank you, viewers. We're gonna switch it over to Jonny with his pretty phenomenal Warhammer Boltgun review from us. Thank you very much. We'll see you on the next episode of the Side Quest. Stick around for Jonny's great review. Here, you guys ready? You guys can see this. Let me go full screen on this.
Are we gonna be able to talk while everybody's watching the review?
No.
So we're gonna be sitting here for 12 minutes.
We'll just chat with each other.
That's what I'm saying. Like,
in the private chat, everybody can see us and hear us.
You are kidding me.
Nope.
Unbelievable.
All right, we'll see y'all in the next episode of the Side Quest. Can you hear this? Is it? Oh.
The Boomer Shooter. A modern FPS with a retro paint. We got Doom likes. We got Hexen likes. We got Blood likes. And whatever else melts your pixelated Doom cube butter. Today I'm looking at Warhammer 40k Boltgun. A boomer shooter set in the grimdark fantasy 38,000 years in the future, where demons exist and space marines exist to eliminate them. where a giant, genetically and surgically altered individual wears 700-pound armor and wields weapons that would normally be mounted to light artillery. The rise of the boomer shooter coincides with the popularity of retro-style games. They are the games that try to scratch that itch of nostalgia. The nostalgia we all had when we played games as kids. The feeling of these games matter much more than the accuracy of the period that they're based on, where values such as game progression and auto-saving matter much more than the amount of lives you accrue or the amount of points you get. So, does Boltgun live up to the standards of our inner children? Does it have the same feeling as shotgunning demons from hell, like you're living in 1993 with your Mario pajamas on the family computer in the living room? Let's take a look. A single Space Marine is not to be taken lightly. The process where they undergo the transformation into the Adeptus Astartes, or however you say it, is harrowing. A normal human adolescent undergoes a series of implantations that change his body into a hardened, 7-foot-tall, never-sleeping behemoth who exists only to serve the Emperor. You are this monstrosity of genetic manipulation and surgical enhancement. You are here to purge the heretics. You must cleanse with holy bullets and purge with concentrated plasma. You are an Ultramarine. You're on your way to a planet that's infected with chaos. Chaos is like the other dimension. It's like where demons live and where hell lives. It's this chaotic pandemonium where death and violence and plague and whatever else live. The warp is demonic.
Good evening, and welcome to the pit of ultimate darkness.
But it's necessary for space travel. It's necessary for a bunch of different things. It's necessary for psychers, magic users, essentially. What lives in the warp can corrupt, and that's what Space Marines don't like. They hate this stuff.
I'm a man possessed by many demons. Polite demons that would open a door for a lady carrying too many parcels, but demons nonetheless.
As far as the story goes, every 40k game is like nearly the same. Kill aliens, kill heretics, you're the sole survivor of a drop pod, and there's no time to mourn your fallen comrades. Pick up your bolt gun. Do what the Emperor has commanded you to do. For people who enjoy the intimidating and vast lore of 40k, you're not going to find it here. This game is all daka and no black library. Fun! This game's fun. You know how I said that retro games try and capture the feeling that you have when you're a kid? This game does it. It does it very, very well. Like if a 40k game was released back in 1993, this is what it would feel like looking back at it. Just, it's like rose-colored glasses, but they're prescription glasses, and you use them every day. Does that make sense? You're a giant space marine. You're 7 feet tall. You're wearing this huge armor. You're stomping around. You can feel the stomps. You can feel how heavy the weaponry is. The sound of your bullets chunking away at the enemies. Just stomp, stomp, stomp. And then you get more weapons that are somehow even more powerful. It's very satisfying. The heavy bolter is probably my favorite gun. It's basically a machine gun that shoots out 50 caliber rounds or something. I don't know what it is, but it's like it basically turns your enemies into hamburger. Just point and hold down the trigger and it's just red paste. The sound in this game is also it meshes well with the weapon design and how it feels to walk around when you are shooting your weapon. It feels like you're shooting something extremely powerful that only someone who's 7 foot tall and 500 pounds could wield. The shotgun sounds meaty, and when the shells hit the ground, it sounds like you're dropping those red solo cups to the ground. That's how big the shells are. The plasma gun burns, the lasers pierce, and the melt-a-gun, well, it melts. It's all satisfying. When you're switching through your weapons and chewing through your enemies, that's also very, I hate to say satisfying, but it is satisfying. The pixel art, when you kill your enemies, they fall to a clump on the ground, but you can also keep shooting them and turning them into hamburger even more. Their organs go all over the place. I remember shooting I don't know, some enemy, and like they exploded, and then I saw like a pixelated brain on the ceiling, and it would drop down onto the floor. When you walk through corpses, you can hear them squishing between your feet, and the chainsword revs up. It's all gravy, baby. It's all good. It's nasty. There's 8 guns. There's special power ups. There's weapon pickups. There's ammo pickups. There's health pickups. There's colored keys. All your standard stuff. It's Doom. It's Doom, baby. This is a capital V video game, and it's Doom. This is Doom, baby. It's Doom.
I gotta sing the Doom song now.
I do want to recommend this game, but before I give it the old Johnny Wag's stamp of approval, I gotta check off some critiques that make me say, dang, I wish they added that. There are a few times where I got a bit turned around within the huge Gothic cathedrals and the dense pipe of the Underforges, and a map would have been really, really helpful. So it feels kind of like an oversight because, Doom had a map. On your little grimdark adventure, you have this little servo skull that accompanies you. He's like your little companion, and he chirps at you in some low-pitched static. It communicates with you, but it's not voiced. There is voice acting in this game, but your little companion is not voiced. Instead, it shows up in the upper left part of your screen. The problem with the message in the upper left is you're usually busy shooting guys, so it's hard to look over and see what it's got to say, and most of the time it's frivolous, so it doesn't matter if you miss it or not, but sometimes it just feels like, well, what if he did say something important and I'm missing it? My issue with it is that it feels like it's pulling my attention away from what I want to do in the game, which is chainsword little culty freaks. Generally, it's just an unhelpful little guy that follows you around. And the last thing before I get into something a little heavy with what the 40K universe is, I wish it had a quick switch button. Usually these games have some quality of life improvements, and this one definitely does. But instead of a quick switch button, which would normally be like the top button or the Y button, it has a taunt button, which is fun. It adds to the flavor of the game. Instead, you have to switch weapons with the D-pad, which is cumbersome because you have to take your thumb off the left stick, which is your movement stick, in order to switch weapons, which makes it so that you're not moving anymore. And this game wants you to move. It's a lot like Doom 2016 in that respect, where moving is really beneficial. Okay, on to the unsavory bit that I don't like exactly talking about, but I think it needs to be said. And I don't even think this is going to be a problem for most people. But 40K's Imperium of Man is based off of like an extreme exaggeration of totalitarianism and imperialism. According to the lore, mankind has to conform to a singular religion or else they'll be labeled as a heretic, punishment being execution. Inquisitors roam the galaxy. They're basically like the Imperium of Man's police force who sniff out any sort of blasphemy. They're sort of like scouts, and then they report back, and either they send Space Marines in or, the Imperial Guard. Space Marines are obviously the face of this whole franchise, and they are the strong arm of this whole supremacist allegory. The intention of 40K was to imagine the endpoint of what fascism and totalitarianism would be. Soldiers as biological, technical, and theological weapons of the Emperor, made to snuff out any sort of dissenters to this right-wing futuristic government. It's supposed to be ridiculous. It's supposed to look ridiculous. It's supposed to be like, oh, like, whoa. Like, oh. It's it's supposed to be satire, but unfortunately, you know, they made the Space Marines too cool. Like, they're not ridiculous. Like, they're very serious soldiers that have been like implanted with 19 implants that turn them into walking tanks. Anyway, they made the fascists look cool. It's like the Empire in Star Wars. So, unfortunately, it just has that air about it. It didn't hamper my enjoyment of the game, but I think people should be aware that this is sort of, I mean, 40K is like 50 years old at this point. So, like, if you are sensitive to that kind of stuff, just be aware. And I don't think you're a bad person if you like this game. I don't think you're a bad person if you like the Empire and Star Wars. But, you know, I am going to give you this look. Anyway, when are they going to make a game where you can play orcs, the objectively good faction? I don't want to make it seem like you're the bad guy for playing this game, because you're not. You're very good for playing this game. You should play this game. It's good. It's fun as hell. I had a great time playing it. It's nearly mindless fun, especially if you play it on low difficulty like I did, like the filthy heretic I am. And on tougher difficulties, you're going to be strategizing where the health pickups are, where the ammo is, where the power-ups are, and trying to make sort of a line, almost like you're in a skate park or something like that. That's it for me, my fellow gamers. This is Jonny for SideQuesting.
In the darkness. Hello, I'm your host, Sir Simon Milligan. For those of you without a brave heart, get up, go to your television sets and turn the station.
Is this the end of the video?
Exercise your right to be a coward.
Yeah.
Wow, Dali, you'll have to wrap up that story